Start. Happy New Year, everyone. This is Geek News Central. My name is Todd Cochran, and the stories that leads the show are as follows. CES, the final word. Where was Cortana? $197,000 watch that probably no one's going to buy. We're going to talk about women at CES. Of course, all the news of the day. I want to welcome you to episode 1251 of the Geek News Central podcast for Monday, January 15th, 2018. This is the first show for the new year for me. Of course, this show is sponsored in part by GoDaddy.com and listeners just like you. Great deals from GoDaddy can be found at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. Of course, support for this show can be found or can be supported at geeknewscentral.com/insider or simply paypal.me/geeknews. You can always pick up Ohana gear at cafepress.com/Ohana store. Hey, for all of you new to the show, I want to give you a warm welcome to the podcast. We're glad to be back in the studio. Absolutely exhausted from several weeks in Vegas. So we're going to talk about all of that and a great deal more here as I adjust the camera just a little bit. Positioning is just a tad off for the show start. But if you're brand new to the show, I want you to take some time and get over to geeknewscentral.com. And when you're on the website, you're going to find everything about this show that you need to get subscribed. And really what it breaks down to is the ability to subscribe via iOS, on Apple Podcast, on Android, via email, Google Play, Stitcher, on TuneIn, or via just a standard RSS feed. So really, we want you to get connected with the show. And really, that's the easiest way to do it is really just getting connected up and let's see if I can bring this back. There we go. And get subscribed to the show. And of course, visit the page visit the website on a daily basis because our writers are putting in great content. Yes, I'm a little rusty. It's been a couple of weeks. Everyone, welcome again. Welcome to the show. And if you have comments on today's show, you can email me directly here, geeknews@gmail.com, or you can follow me on Twitter @geeknews. The Slack channel is available for those of you who want to join our Slack discussion. Become part of the family over there and send me an email. Let me know you want to be part of our Slack channel. You can follow me on Google Plus or Facebook. You can watch this show on the Roku, on the Apple TV, listen on the Amazon Echo. You can listen on Stitcher on Blueberry.com. You can tell your Google Home device to play the podcast, or if you have a Microsoft Cortana device, you can play the Geek News Central. All you got to do is play Geek News Central or play the podcast, Geek News Central. That'll get you close to most of those devices. Partner shows include No Better Than Average with Jacob and Jeff, The Gadget Professor with Mr. Don Bain, the Pro Gear site being written by my team at progear.guru. And of course, we've got the new media show that's co-hosted myself and Rob Greenlee, and the Podcast Legends show, which at this point, I don't know if it's extinct or not, but maybe we can get back on track. Of course, this show has the longest run as a continuing sponsor of a podcast known to man, and that, of course, is our good friends over at GoDaddy.com. And we want to thank GoDaddy for being a longtime sponsor here. We did get the numbers in from December, of course, and another banner month. You guys did a great job. Thanks for knocking out of the ballpark, and off to a little slow start in January, but that's okay. You guys really did nice for me both months. Making the bills, keeping the payments on, keeping the lights on. But, GoDaddy has really got a large number of products and services to get your business online. And I've got a code just about for everything that you're going to need over there, whether it's 30% off a new product purchase, whether it be getting a .com for 99 cents, whether it be $1 a month economy hosting with a free domain, whether it be $1 a month managed WordPress hosting, again with a free domain for the first year. That's $12, get you off the ground with a hosting site. Or if you're a business owner, 1 month free trial of GoDaddy Website Builder, your choice of personal, business, and business plus plans. All my codes, again, geeknewscentral.com GoDaddy. You can find those codes. We want you to use them and help us pay for all the bills, all the hotels, all the food, all the blog postings for CES 2018. And hope that you guys will continue to support the show through the month of January. To be honest with you, I am I'm wonked. Absolutely wonked. I got in yesterday, and well, I guess maybe I'll just take you back and give you all the rundown of everything that's happened since the last show on December 28th. Really, New Year's here was pretty lazy. I think I woke up for midnight, went out in the yard and Facebook Live some fireworks. But by 12:20, I was in bed sleeping. And then, of course, on the evening of the 1st, I flew out to Vegas. Got in about 10 o'clock in the morning, hit Walmart, got a couple of cases of water and some general supplies that we need that we use for the show every year. And then I went over and checked into the Flamingo. So I stayed at the Flamingo for 2 days, my first 2 days in Vegas. And was a nice change. I decided to do this kind of on the spur of the moment, not to stay on the strip, for a couple of days, which is not me at all. And I must admit, the area right around the Flamingo, lots of food options, expensive and not always the best food, but overall, had a pretty good time in and around there. But I spent 2 days in the desert doing some things with a company that I still can't talk about. I'm still under NDA. So we'll see at what time I get released from that here in the near future. And then I had meetings on Friday and Saturday. And then, of course, Sunday morning, we went over to the convention center. We got our broadcast bands. I don't know if, let me show you these. So every day of the show, there was a different color of band. And so I had to get the bands for the show. So every day we wore a band that basically said CES 2018 broadcast. This was a yellow band, and I think this was actually Friday's color. And we couldn't get in the building early without it. So I went over to the broadcast broadcast office, picked up our bands, and we had a dock load-in time, but we kind of scoped where the dock was and compared it to where the actual studio was. And the team from F5 Live, who they had come in Saturday night, my team was still getting in throughout Sunday. We said, let's just unload here. And we unloaded at the main entrance to Sands. I went and basically did a roundabout and then came back to the Palazzo and parked in the Palazzo's parking garage, which was nearly full to the gills. And then I met the team at the broadcast booth just as they had gotten everything there. They threw us for a loop when we first got there because they said, you're downstairs. And we're like, no, we're here at booth number 40030, which was the CES Live broadcast tower. And they said, well, I've got a note here that you wanted downstairs and something opened up and you can move downstairs. We had already emailed 100 plus vendors, done back and forth, provided them maps, provided them all the information. And what really happened was, and I didn't find this out till later because I may have reconsidered it, but I didn't have the cameras there. They were going to move us to a platform, an 18 by 18 open air platform with security and everything that we needed for the show. But I went with the Canon cameras to do relatively short close-up shots that we've used before and really not the cameras we would need to be on a platform. So, but I didn't know that. I thought they were sending us downstairs to another 10 by 12 room. And you'll see from the live blog, if you have to look at it, we were jammed in there. It was tight. You could get with a couple of tables and with the gear and everything else, 4 people. It was a full house. And we decided to stay upstairs just because we wouldn't cut, because it's always confusion anyway for people to find us. Even though we email them multiple times, the people coming to us often don't get those maps or they don't review them, and they're calling us and want to know where you at, where you at, where you at. And it's always insanity. So on Saturday or Sunday, we basically got everything, kind of dialed in where we needed to be. I got the cameras up. We didn't have the lights yet. Don Bain was coming in with lights. So we got all done Sunday. We're real happy where we're at. We just figure on Monday we're going to need a couple hours. Then we can go off and do the evening interview. There's afternoon. It's press day on Monday. We can go through and do all these things and tell the team, relax. We don't need to get out of there too early. So I think we got over to the convention center about 11, maybe 10:30 on Monday, and got in, and we kind of just got everything a little tweaked a little bit. And Don wasn't getting into about 3. And I said, well, let me just go ahead and test the live stream. We've got everything up. All I'll do is bring up a 2-minute live stream, make sure everything's good. And the TriCaster would not stream. It would start and it would fail. Start and fail. And I went into panic mode because this had never happened before. And so, I'm thinking, okay, I had tested it here in Hawaii, but I didn't test that function. So first thing I thought was port block. We've got a port blocked on the internet. So I checked that, took a little while, had to download some software, checked that. Nope, port wasn't blocked. We could stream through an alternative method. And really at that point, there's really nothing to do but go over to the New Tech website and see if there's been a new release. And there had been, so I downloaded the new release, installed that. Same thing, wouldn't work. And with the TriCaster, 99.9% of the time when you have something go bad, there's a 2-step process. You restore, and you just basically boot up like a normal Windows machine does for restore, and you restore from the image file, which I did, and that takes about 10 minutes. And then you apply the latest update, which I did, and that took another 15 minutes. And I got everything up, ready, hit stream again, and it wouldn't stream. So by then it's about 3 o'clock. Don Bain and actually Don and his son, Mike, showed up, and we're trying to figure out what's going on. And we mess with this thing, and we cross-check, and we're really, we're stuck. And by this time, Central Time wise, the New Tech folks had already went home for the day. And Mike and Don are dealers. They're TriCaster dealers. That's who I deal with. So they called a buddy of theirs that was at home. That's one of the tech reps over there. And he says, this is what's going on. And the guy goes, oh, just update the Intel graphics adapter. And we're like, what? Yeah, he says, go to this website, load it. And it's going to tell you there's an Intel graphics driver on the motherboard of the TriCaster Mini that's out of date, and just update that'll fix it. And we're looking at each other like, he's crazy. And we went to the Intel website. It took a while for it to do what his thing was going to do. Of course, the Internet Explorer didn't want to run the little JavaScript thing, all this stupid stuff, right? Finally, it's almost 6. I've already missed all these afternoon events I was going to be at to do interviews. My team is there. I'm in meltdown mode. We install these drivers, reboot the machine. Boom, it worked. I mean, I literally flipped out. I couldn't believe it because this wasn't documented anywhere. Well, turns out there's this knowledge base on New Tech's website that I knew nothing about, that it was pointed to later, actually after the show. I said, by the way, that note is on this. And I'm like, that should have been in the release notes. So, I mean, I ripped them I went on one of their VPs sent me a letter because I was done. I was pissed. Um, Long story short, we get all done. We're good. I'm like, we're ready to go. Okay. This was like a 4 or 5 hour event that turned into 6 hours just dealing with getting this streaming thing working. Get back to the hotel. I'm already like punchy. I'm it's something about Vegas and me and all this stuff and planning and getting this all together. And I effing lose my mind. I really do. And I was, so, okay, calm down, reset, had a cocktail. Tuesday morning, we're ready to go. We got in there, we got all set up. At 10 a.m., we went live. But Tuesday, it was pouring in Vegas. Pouring rain, pouring. There was flooding going in the convention center. Booths were getting watered out. It was insane. It had rained a little bit on Monday, but it poured on Tuesday. So with all this rain, traffic was an insane mess, wrecks all over the city. We had rode a Lyft over from a Lyft ride. It normally costs $11, cost me $65 on Surge. I mean, it was crazy. And luckily we had a Lyft driver that was Indy 500 driver. He got her done. He got us down there when no one else was stuck in traffic. This guy was great. He earned his $65. But anyway, we get in. I'm telling the guys, see, normally day before, we're out collecting interviews already, and I've got 10 in the can to use as fill. So we go live at 10 a.m. I've seen nothing but this 10 by 12 room. And on first days of the show, guests are always late. And it sucked. It sucked for about the first 2 hours. It just sucked because I had no content because we hadn't been out. Finally, someone showed up with an SD card and gave me 4 interviews. At least I could play those. And anyway, so the team rolled through. Tuesday got better, and we relatively had no issues Tuesday. The stream went down once, but we basically recovered, and everything was not bad on Tuesday. Wednesday, we get in there and we fire up and we're going. I walk. I've been gone. One of the Don Baines going live, and chaos started to happen with the internet connection. Too many people were plugging in. I had reserved 5 IPs for my booth. We were using 2, and somehow, and they'd had a 17 IP block because I had requested 5, but it turns out everyone showed up. No one gave the right numbers of IPs they needed, and it was on a DHCP service. So it would fill up, and they were on a very short lease, a 2-hour lease. So every 2 hours, you'd try to go for a DHCP renewal, we didn't have an IP to give you, and I lost my internet connection. That happened 3 times during that day. And we were having conversations. The CEA people were there. I had the IT people there. So I'm trying to get interviews, but I'm also running interference because of the internet connection. People are still showing up. We're still doing interviews, even though we're not live. And working through this. So Wednesday was fun. No fault. I mean, all the guests were coming. It was beautiful. But we had all these internet issues. And then what really topped it off was I was live, had a guest in process, one of the most important guests we had the whole time, and she stuck her head in the door. She says, "They're shutting your internet off in 2 minutes. They were going to put us up on a brand new IP block with enough IPs to carry us." And it took every ounce of my adult will not to go semi-nuclear Finished the interview. Took 30 minutes to get this whole thing reset and back online. But anyway, when we did, then it was smooth sailing Thursday and Friday, straight through with no issues, network wise. But what an insane week. We still got 100 plus interviews in the booth. I got like 40 on the floor. So we got a ton of stuff to post produce. Wrap up went good on Friday. We packed the studio out in about an hour. Humped everything all the way from out through Sands, all the way into the Palazzo, to the Palazzo parking garage. Got things loaded. The minivan was close to the elevator door. We loaded the minivan. I high-fived everyone to help load everything out. And then Kirk and Colton, who is part of my team, Kirk, of course, executive producer here, and Colton Clymer, who came out and was my cameraman, we jumped in and we went to FedEx across town. And my little secret FedEx place I always go to was already slammed. But we still got in and out of there in a relatively good time. Don Bain had to go home a day early because of a sick grandchild or some effect. So we lost Don on Friday, which affected us quite a bit too, because we had to cover his slots. And so I didn't get as much done on Friday as I wanted to, but we got everything out on Friday. Then we had our team dinner at the Grotto. And then Saturday, I collapsed and then flew home on Sunday. And I'm still like, where am I? But Colton and Kirk did a great job. The live blog was fantastic. Kirk kept the pictures up. We were having a hard time sending videos. Just the internet was not as good at the Sands as it is over at LVCC. But out of all this, really what happened is that the Sands team from CTA, they basically saw we were there doing more content again than really anyone in the building. And TechCrunch was in the building. CNET was in the building. Of course, now CNET had their own thing over south that they normally do, and they did a lot of content over there. But we still pumped through, and most interviews are really good with lots of great gear. So I think the way it looks is that maybe in 19, we'll be able to get a 18 by 18 platform, what we've always wanted. They include security, all the things that we get in the CES live stuff, and we're good. Hang on 1 second. Chris, turn it down. Turn it down. So anyway, long story short, end result was good. Lots of content to share with you guys over the next couple of weeks or probably month. I've got, for those of you watching, I've got business cards, memory sticks. These are all things I got to start going through and then get the editing stuff going. And I'm going to try. I don't know. I'm going to see how well I do. I'm going to try to do the editing this year. I thought about maybe letting Colton do it. Haven't decided 100% yet, but make a decision here in the next 48 hours. But we'll get some content running and the interviews put up and the follow-up process started. So anyway, that was my week. But I had one interesting run-in. Not really a run-in. Walked into a booth. There's another guy there, and he turns and says, "Hey, Todd. Hey, how you doing?" And he shook my hand. Said, "I love your content. Love your show." And he was from Engadget. So the Engadget, and I didn't get in the fog of war of CES. I missed his name. I should have wrote it down, but he's one of the writers over there, and so I know we got an Engadget fan who listens to the show. That's pretty cool. But the Engadget team was there in force, of course, and so we'll step it up. May have to reassemble some of the team. You know who you are. If we do the broadcast, if we do a platform, this area we're at Sands, I was quite content to work the top floor was home improve or home automation. It all kinds of runs together, and then the bottom floor was all startups and stuff. So we'll see how it goes. I was pleased with the source material, but the show's growing. It's gotten massive, and really, I need like 2 teams at CES. One team that would be just like doing nothing but floor interviews. So I'll look at that, see if it's in the budget. It's just I don't know if it's possible. It's a lot of money to do as many people as I'd like to do, but I'm going to come up with a plan for that. All right, let's go ahead and yes, I have a show for you. I have a show for you tonight. And speaking of CNET, they had CES the final word, and they saw a lot of stuff I didn't. TVs, smart homes, of course. It's everything on that floor at the home innovation or home automation area. It was everything smart home stuff. I mean, there's so much smart home stuff. It's like mind numbing. TVs were still dominating the show. Lots of little robots. Health tech continues to be health and wellness continues to be a big category. Of course, there was some cool laptops launched at the show, and of course, lots of stuff on the automotive side and VR. More AR than VR, and so anyway, that was some of the stuff that CNET saw. I'm still trying to remember everything. I can't even remember what I ate for breakfast today yet, so that tells you where I'm at. But one thing I will say is Cortana did not see hardly a thing about Cortana, but huge Amazon and Google assistance integration, huge, almost everywhere. Amazon Alexa capable, Google Home capable. Booth to booth. Didn't nary see hardly anything Cortana wise. There was a Cortana powered thermostat, but there was smartwatches, TVs. I mean, it was huge. The Google had a huge booth there. Google had a Google presence at the Sands. I mean, it was massive. Lots of partnerships, lots of companies. It is that ecosystem has exploded. I mean, absolutely exploding. And but Cortana, nope, not hardly at all. Now there was $197,000, and this watch actually got shown off at another event. But we were in the there was this Swiss delegation, and it was loaded with people, lots of people, 2 security guards at either end. I could barely get in there and look, but it was all the high-end Swiss watch manufacturers with smart watches, and they had these beautiful watches. And I'm asking the prices: $15,000, $25,000, $197,000. Yes, $197,000. Like 50 diamonds or something ridiculous. It was a Tag Heuer watch. So it just lots of beautiful high-end watches with smart device, or it's basically a smartwatch, and all running Android Wear. And I asked the folks there. I said, "Listen, you got this beautiful watch. You've got a smartwatch going into something that is typically a timepiece that is pretty incredible, and you're paying for the name and the design and the band." I said, "I'm really not paying for the jewels inside. I'm not paying for the mechanism. I'm not paying for the tick tock, right? Or the perpetual motion from Rolex. I'm not paying for that. I'm just paying for the design because it's Android Wear." And he says, "Well, we've designed the watch faces and all this." I'm like, I said, "Okay, so what happens in 5 years when cannot be upgraded anymore. I said, am I going to be able to send the watch back and you're going to be able to update the guts to put a new operating system in and new chips and everything? I says, because, if I've got a high-end Swiss watch, that's a lifetime investment. It's a one-time lifetime investment where you don't have to, you put it in your jewelry box, you bring it out for a special occasion, maybe have a daily wear watch, and it's a mechanism that will last a lifetime. There's people that have Rolexes that they paid, $12,000-$15,000 for, and they've had them for 50 years. Okay, and they may have to send them in for tune-up or whatever. But and they couldn't answer that question. So if you're going to buy an expensive smartwatch from a Swiss organization, the question you need to ask the dealer is, what happens in 5 years when the electronics in this and the battery in this is bad? Where's the upgrade route? What's the guts replacement plan? Because you're not going to spend that kind of money for a watch that looks beautiful, but at the same time, in 5 years is going to be dead. So time will tell here on this, on what happens. But, Tag Heuer's got smartwatches, 45 of them. And they're modular. So there's lots of options, but not all these companies do. So it'd be interesting to watch this as time goes on. Now, one thing I will admit is there's this article, it's on Engadget, the totally normal, completely unsurprising lack of women at CES. In regards to, there was 0 female keynote speakers at CES. And it's been that way for a while. The CTA has said that to keynote at CES, the speaker must be a present CE level at a large entity whose name recognition is in the industry. And as upsetting as it is, there's a limited pool when it comes to women in these positions. And CTA says, we feel your pain. It bothers us too. The tech industry and every industry must do better. But I will say this. I met a lot of women with startups, ladies only startups. Ladies leading being the CTO, CIOs, CEOs. It was huge in the startup area. There was huge diversity of men and women in the startup area of the show. And a lot of creators, a lot of inventors. So I was very, very pleased to see that. But it says, this article says, for many women at CES, a lack of female representation in the keynote wasn't surprising. It wasn't even CTA's sole fault. 2016 by the National Center for Women and Information Technology found women held 57% of all professional occupations, and only 25% of all computing jobs. These figures were even lower for non-white women. Asian women held 5% of the jobs in the computing industry, Black women 3%, and Latinas just held 1%. But the number of Chinese women, and I don't know what their positions were. There was plenty working in the different booths and talking about product, and so I don't know. As far as what I was exposed to at the level we were looking at in the startup space, there was a lot of women, a lot, and a lot of women that were doing startups. So it's a lot, especially in the health tech area, which I didn't cover as extensive. The health tech stuff had to really wow me. I was being run down a lot. The press people were chasing us down and coming to look at health tech. And every once in a while you'd throw a PR person a bone, but it really, there wasn't a lot that wowed me there. Now, one thing did. It's on my desk over there, and I'll talk about it later, but it's about a wearable a wearable band that actually measures calorie intake without you having to put anything into it with 85% accuracy. At least that's the claim. We will see. That was probably the only thing in health tech that wowed me. We're still working on the diabetes thing and all that. We're not quite there yet, but that'll be soon. Moving on here to a little different topic. At Apple's Macworld in 2008, Steve Jobs introduced the MacBook Air. That was 10 years ago. And he really changed the future of laptops 10 years ago today. At the time, rivals had thin, light laptops on the market, but they were all around an inch thick, weighed about 3 pounds, or 8 or 11-inch displays. Most did not even have full-size keyboards. Apple managed to create the MacBook Air with a wedge shape so that the thickest part was still thinner than the thinnest part of Sony's TZ series, if you remember that. So really, they introduced and they really brought to market a very cool product 10 years ago, causing companies like Dell and so forth to respond with their own thin machines, some of which I still use today. So a little bit of history note there for you. And of course, thin computers are all the rage right now. It's been announced that Ford is throwing $11 billion at its electric car problem. It's doubling its investment in electric vehicles in a bid to catch up with GM and other major automakers. They said that they hope to more than double its investment at the Detroit Auto Show by producing as many as 16 fully electric vehicles within 5 years, the first which should arrive in 2020. This is a dramatic escalation in Ford's crosstown rivalry with GM, which has seen its stock prices rise thanks to its commitment to both electrification and autonomy. GM has said it plans to roll out at least 20 new electric vehicles by 2023. So we're going to see lots of stuff here. One thing I didn't get before I started the show tonight was a glass of water. I'm going to pay for this big here in a little bit because throat's already half gone as it is. Hey, Glenn. Sorry I didn't say hello earlier in the show. Hey, Darren. Hi, how are you doing? Darren says, hey, Todd, what are your streaming settings? I'm streaming at 720p with the TriCaster. Anker's new Alexa speaker is like an Echo Dot with better audio. It's available for $40. It's amazing. It's Anker's F-E-U-F-E Genie. It's basic an Echo Dot, and it's got a nice speaker. Check it out. I didn't get to see Anker at the show. They weren't in any of the halls I was in. Also, lots of you have been suffering through winter storms. I know my team had to leave early from work on Friday because of the ice storm that came through Columbus. So if you need some winter tech, there's a good article on Android Central, How to Survive Winter Using Technology. And of course, number 1, track the storm. Number 2, have some backup batteries. Of course, stock up on essentials, the stuff that you're going to need. But there's lots of things you can do to be prepared to keep your electronics on, even though the power may go out. So I have the link up in the show notes on this. And of course, you're going to want those non-techie items as well to keep you warm in case the juice goes out. The best way to sync your bookmarks and favorites across computers and phones. Lots of programs out there. Xmarks is one. It's a good one. EverSync is another. Atavi is one. Samsung Internet. So a variety of different bookmark syncing tools are out there. I use the Xmarks one a lot. Or if I'm just doing it between Google's or on the Chrome, it'll sync as well. But some great syncing programs for you for Windows. Hey, one thing I've done here, I'm now down, and I don't know why I didn't do this earlier. I'm down to 1 keyboard and a mouse for 2 computers. And between my Mac and my PC, I just bought a little USB switch hub. I don't know why I didn't do that before. It's making life much easier here. It's just the simple things, right? Samsung Pay's been updated with a cleaner and more traditional UI. And, of course, I have not used Samsung Pay For those of you that have, that's an update. First spotted by the folks over at Droid Life. Updating Samsung Pay to build number 2.8.18 brings a new user interface. This cleans up, makes a bit more sense from a usability point of view. You know the thing that drives me crazy about Apple Pay? I'm accidentally invoking it all the time. And I freak out when I do because I think that something has triggered it. I don't know what it is. I don't know why I'm always triggering Apple Pay on my iPhone, but it drives me a little crazy. It really, really does. Oh, lovely. So I go over to livescience.com and they automatically start playing an H&R Block advertisement. So there has been a new discovery in China. It's called the little rainbow dinosaur. It's a 161 million year old dinosaur the size of a duck that would have been a shining, shimmering, and splendid sight to behold, mostly because it sported gleaming, iridescent feathers and were rainbow colored, a new study finds. So I guess this has been an ultimate fossil, and it's such a good find that they've come up with a pretty good model of what this dinosaur looked like. And so anyway, if you're into dinosaurs, this is something new that is being reported on, and I'll have the link up for you in the show notes. Also, one thing that we see every year is a reoccurrence of ideas at CES. And this year was really no different. There's always someone coming up with something that we've seen before, and when you tell them that you've seen this before, they kind of get mad at you. One of those items was basically it's a time machine camera. And how come I can't get you to stay? It's a BBC article that keeps it wants to autoplay, and I don't want to get shut down here by YouTube. But anyway, it's a wearable camera that is always recording, and as soon as you touch it, it picks up the last 10 seconds and records the next 10 seconds. So you get a 20-second video capture, and it syncs to the phone. Why are we? We've seen all kinds of these cameras like this before, and different variations of them. Ones that do, recording continuously and live vlogging and all this stuff. So one thing I will say about CES this year was I didn't see a lot of wow, cool innovation stuff that would really set me back on my heels and make me want to buy. There was a couple of things maybe, but the majority of it was not that wow inspiring, especially on the home automation side. It's kind of dime a dozen to a certain extent for that now. Hey, while I was gone, hackers stole $400,000 of cryptocurrency. The group hijacked a server that hosts Black Wallet, a web-based wallet application, stores lumens, and stole 669,920 lumens. I guess that's a form of cryptocurrency. And the guy's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'll see if I can do better about locking my website down." Can you imagine? Can you imagine going to a site that it just goes to prove that every Dick, Tom, and Harry is trying to get in on this stuff, and they're trying to build websites that are not secure at all, and people are just getting ripped off. So, wow. In a post on social media website Reddit, Blackwall's creator said he had since disabled his hosting account and websites, so people can't even get into him at all. So if you've entered your key on Black Wallet, you may want to move your funds to a new wallet. And he says, "I'm in talks with my hosting provider to get as much information about the hacker, and we'll see what can be done with it." Yeah, those people's money is gone, 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 gone. Have you ever tried to suppress a sneeze? Did you know you can rupture your throat by doing so? I never knew such a thing was possible. In a weird case, the guy pinched his nose and covered his mouth, and then instead of letting the steam, the sneeze go, he blew out his throat. Spent a week in the hospital. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Also, there's a good piece over in Mercury News at mercurynews.com. If you've heard, Facebook has basically said that they're making changes to newsfeed in 2018. You're going to see less news and more stuff that we've always wanted was information about each other. And, Mark Zuckerberg said, I'm changing the goal I give our product team from focusing on helping you find relevant content to helping you have more meaningful social interactions. In short, this means you'll see more posts from friends and family in your network and less content from brands, businesses, and media. According to Pew Research, 67% of Americans get their news from social media, but that number could dip given the latest update to the Facebook algorithm. But if you still want to continue to keep local news in your Facebook feed, there is a way to do that. And they've got some instructions on how you can set that up so you can be guaranteed to continue to get local news if you so desire to do so. Of course, Mercury News wants they want you to continue to get their content, so they're giving you instructions on how to do so on the website. It's being reported that the Galaxy S9 and S9 Plus will not have bigger batteries, but they still may have better battery life. So we'll keep an eye on that. But last year's S8s had 3,000 mAh and 3,500 mAh batteries respectively. And they, based on the reports that are coming out and testing, it's going to be the same size. But there is a limited information that they've optimized the amount of power that the phones are using. So if you're having problems keeping your batteries charged on your phones and your Samsung fan, this may come as good news. I've completely missed this, but applications, operating systems, and firmware all need to be updated to defeat something called Meltdown and protect against a hack called Spectre. These are two attacks that exploit features of high-performance processors to leak information to undermine system security. The computing industry has been scrambling to respond after news broke earlier, a few days ago, about this. Microsoft has issued a patch, and actually they have had to set a registry link basically saying, we've made this patch, and if your antivirus and security software don't support it, it won't allow you to update those applications. So security and antivirus companies are scrambling to respond to the Windows patch to get their systems to patch be compatible with the upgrade. So keep an eye on this. If you've seen an update happen to your Windows machine and your software that protects your machine, your antivirus applications are not updating timely, this may be the case, okay? SpaceX is going to do a dry fire. Well, not a dry fire, a wet fire. They're going to fire up the Falcon Heavy's 27 engines this week. It could happen as early as, for most of you listening to the show, today, Tuesday. But we may be still a few weeks away from the launch. But they are going to run all 27 motors, and it could blow up right there on the pad. We will see. But for right now, they're getting ready to test. So we're excited to see all 27 motors running, and make sure that they can work in harmony. Google Maps is returning to China after an 8-year absence. Google famously pulled its service out of China in 2010 rather than comply with the government censorship requirements, but it's tipping its toe back in today. Google has relaunched Google Maps for China, but not via the same app we have in the rest of the world. Most people access via a web page, but iPhones get an app, so this is a start. So this is the case for people that live in China. I guess there's some problems going on with Google Home Max. Have you guys heard about this? Have any of you got a Google Home Max units? It's crashing Wi-Fi networks, and it's crashing Wi-Fi networks and streaming, and maybe getting worse. There's also some issues with some Chromecast products. that are sending all kinds of packets out. So Google's got some issues they've got to work through. But if you've got a Google Home Max, it may be crashing Wi-Fi networks. And I don't fully understand this. Does it crash other homes' Wi-Fi networks, or just does it crash its own? That's the question. But this is what's being reported over at androidheadlines.com. Also, there's a guy that's been working on what is being touted the first pet translator. Scientists are developing a device to convert dog barks into English language. So basically, you've got the ability to, and this is going to start playing. Auto's playing a video. Let me stop it. But using artificial intelligence, scientists learn how to translate vocalizations. Oh, this makes me angry. These auto starting of videos on web pages. TechTimes.com, guilty. So they're using AI to learn how to translate vocalizations and facial expressions of animals into something that humans can understand. If you've got a dog, when he needs to go outside, he usually gives kind of a bark. When they're hungry, they kind of give a bark. When they want some attention, they do a certain thing. Come on, we're the artificial intelligence for our pets. But I guess some people need some sort of computer program to tell them what their dog is saying. 2018's MacBook Pros will not see, again, MacBook Pro won't see any major upgrades. So assuming that there's some reports are correct, the MacBook Pro refresh will not be bringing about any type of upgrades. So we'll keep an eye on this and see if anything is announced. Boeing has also showed off its vision for hypersonic spy aircraft. It could be a spiritual successor to the Blackbird. It's a Mach 5 plus top speed. It would leave the older 3.2 Mach jet far behind, but it kind of looks like a Blackbird, but a much narrower, sleeker model. So Boeing has basically said the design is still evolving. And it's a more reflection of current state of affairs, current state of technology. And let me see if I can show you this thing. It's pretty beautiful from a model makeup. And again, this is just a model makeup. Let me see if I can bring this up for you, those of you that are watching. Yeah, they've got a picture of it. And it looks completely autonomous. They did have a model. Let's see if I can bring up. Where's the pic to it? They had an actual another. Where did they put it? Oh, there it is. So let me load this up in a bigger screen. So that's what they say it's going to kind of look like. And the model in the booth looks pretty beautiful. It really, really does. But definitely looks like a completely autonomous Mach 5 aircraft. So taxpayer dollars at work there, my friends. We'll see where this one leads to down the road. Also, the best mobile photo editing apps. If you've taken if you're using your cell phone a lot, you're going to want to probably load up Lightroom CC or Snapseed or VSCO, Prisma. These are all good apps for photo editing. I have the link up in the show notes. If you're looking for one, there's some reviews here on Engadget that I'll have up for you. Also, in Seoul, cryptocurrency investors in South Korea will be fined for refusing to convert their virtual accounts into real name ones. The move comes as South Korea is scrambling. Now, we knew this was coming, but South Koreans are now under a deadline on when to get this done. So the people in Korea have a very short time to get in compliance. I think the government's going to come hunting. Also, I heard that some credit card companies in the United States are not allowing you to buy Bitcoin with their Capital One is not allowing you to buy cryptocurrency on Coinbase anymore. So you have to actually buy cryptocurrency with a bank transfer, which takes longer than buying on a credit card. Hey, OnePlus is investigating credit card fraud. Apparently, OnePlus customers have had experience of credit card fraud where they bought a phone on their website and then they receive notifications of fraudulent card activity after purchasing phones. So if you are a OnePlus site customer user, be aware of this, that they may have some issues over there. One of the things I saw at the show, and they actually did an interview with me, was a contraceptive app. But there's a contraceptive app that's under fire. It's being used by more than 500,000 women, but it's being reportedly the cause of 37 unwanted pregnancies in Stockholm. And the app scans body temperature during the menstrual cycle to notify women when it's safe to have unprotected adult relations. Days when it's okay are marked as green on this calendar, but if it shows red, couples are advised to use extra protection. Whereas the company I interviewed said, here's your prime window to get pregnant. So interesting spin. You got a company said this is a time that you are safe, and the other company is this is a time that it's green. It's a go. Let's be frank. You can use an app all you want to try to figure out that timing. But I don't think there's an app for that that's safe. So if you and your partner do not, want to have kids, my advice is to always have some sort of contraceptive. Things, those clock things don't always work. They're supposed to, but this is the real world. Uber Gizmo is reporting that Cortana reportedly moving out of the Windows 10 search area. And if you know that, Cortana is in the Windows search area. It may be getting its own place on the taskbar. I think that would probably make a lot of sense for Windows to do that. And it's believed they're already working on some UI changes. So they may actually be moving from search to the Action Center. So I think that makes a lot of sense, to be honest with you. Of course, the Action Center is the window that when you click it, it pops up, it shows your apps and life at a glance and play and explore, those types of things. So I think it's probably a good place for it. So we'll see what Microsoft does there. Landroid, the futuristic laundry folding appliance. You basically dump your dry clothes into it, and it folds your clothes. It only costs $16,000. And it can fold a blanket or it can fold like a towel in like 4 or 5 minutes. But when it comes to folding shirts, it could take more than 4 hours to fold a shirt. It's designed to work at a very quiet level, 35 decibels, so that it isn't noisy. So it's not making a lot of noise. But it can fold clothes that just come out of the dryer. You dump it into it, and for $16,000, you can have your clothes folded. This wasn't the only company that was doing this. There was another company that had one that you had to feed it in, and it took 4 or 5 minutes once you fed it to the machine, but you still had to feed the machine. So we'll see. Hey, Apple's CarPlay is finally coming to Toyota and Lexus vehicles, but there's still no sign of Android Auto. Today, Toyota's new 2019 Avalon was just announced at the 2018 North American National Auto Show. And the new model includes long-awaited and welcome addition Apple's CarPlay platform, a first for a Toyota car. And, of course, Toyota is famously abstained from adopting either CarPlay or Android in its cars. Back in 2015, the national manager of Toyota Advanced Technology Communications said that the company preferred to use their own in-house proprietary platforms. Well, that obviously didn't work out so well for them. So this is good. And so CarPlay will show up in some Toyotas and Lexuses, which will be a welcome addition on those new car models. BlackBerry Jarvis is finding security flaws in connected cars. The company claims it can also reduce scanning time from days to minutes. As cars become more reliant on software, it's critical for automakers to make sure their code is secure. It's somewhat surprising, though, a company like BlackBerry to come out with a potential solution at a keynote during the American International Automotive Show. In Detroit, the company CEO John Chen announced a new cloud-based tool called Jarvis. They can scan the complex software required for modern connected cars and autonomous vehicles, and basically looks for security vulnerabilities. So very interesting, coming from BlackBerry. Also, if you are an ER fan, yes, ER, the television show, it's going to be available for streaming exclusively from Hulu. Last article of the day, 5 smartphone apps permissions you need to check today. So this walks you through permissions on Android things and on the iPhone, stuff that you need to look at to make your phones, make sure the permissions are set at the level that you want them set at. Okay, you've got some email comments. Let me get those knocked out before we get everyone out of here. We got an email from AB, and he said, Todd, I'm so excited about this alternative coin. Please look into this company. Not only can it get around the China Big Brother, but you can earn altcoins by sharing your decentralized, uncensored internet. I'm looking at this altcoin. Okay, let me load this. It's a Twitter post. The Substrandum network will bring the decentralized web worldwide without the need of special software for the average internet user. It's got a lot of followers, 116,000 followers. All right, so it is something about Bitcoin or some sort of Bitcoin stuff. And I don't know who this poster is that sent the email, AB. I've never got an email, I don't think, from him before. Oh, I know who this is. Okay, I know. This is a trusted one. I just didn't, AB, you didn't have your name written in it until I looked at the email. He said, I'm excited about this alternative coin. Please take a look at the company. So Substratum Net. So this comes from a trusted source. I'll put the link up in the show notes. Got an email also from Andy. Can you discuss this bit on your show about the missile launch? Well, I was in Vegas, and I didn't get the alert. I heard about it on the news, and my kids slept through it. But talking to a lot of people since I've been back, yeah, people freaked out big time here. Imagine getting an alert saying that a ballistic missile is en route. Most people felt helpless because they really didn't know what to do or where to go. I think, to be frank, if there was truly a nuclear weapon headed towards Hawaii, you're almost anyone that lives at least on Oahu is within 5 miles of of a major base. It's hard to be outside the radius of a major base here. It's Pearl Harbor. You've got Hickam. You've got the Marine Corps Base Hawaii. You've got the tunnel. You've got Schofield. It's just there's a lot of Army, Air Force, Navy, Coast Guard, you name it. Lots of targets. There's more targets than the North Koreans have nuclear weapons, but it's going to be bad no matter what. And my daughter was like, what would I do? And I'm just like, go to the middle of the house and pray. That's about it, considering the flight time. And, from a retaliation standpoint, no, I think what you have is a very, very, very sophisticated system within NORAD that basically tracks these things. They know when a launch happens, and they have systems in place to ensure that there's truly a missile in the air. I think if NORAD detected a launch, there probably would be a retaliatory strike. But, I don't know what the contingency plans is for the military here in Hawaii. Of course, they would never say anything anyway. But we've got DDGs here. Those are destroyers, Arleigh Burke class destroyers, and many of those have radar systems in them that are capable of missile defense, ICBM type missile defense. But are they in port? Are they just hanging out? Is there anybody even on watch? Are they in the right position? Because there has to be. I think there's some math involved, and they have to be in the right location for something coming in. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. But yeah, people flipped out quite a bit here, and I haven't heard a lot of stuff. But from what I have heard, people are very angry here that things are going kind of sideways. Also, Jack sent me an email. It says, "Hey Todd, you mentioned you like The Crown, but you may not be learning much as you think. The lies of The Crown and The Post." So thanks for that link, Jack. So not a lot of fakery, a lot of fake news in The Crown. So not everything in there is depicted completely correct. So thanks for the update on that. And I think I kind of knew that, but it would be nice if they stayed historically correct. All right, folks, I'm going to roll. A little punchy here because I'm still jet lagged. I'm still totally wiped out from the show, but be back with you on Thursday. If you have comments on today's show, definitely want to hear from you. geeknews@gmail.com, geeknews@gmail.com. And I think we'll be back to normal here and start looking for posts will be coming midweek, I guess, from CES, and they'll trickle out over the next month. A lot of work to be done there. But definitely glad to be home and back to a semi-normal routine. But, next month's a big month as well with my daughter and wedding party and all this stuff that's going to be happening. So but we'll keep you advised. I'm here until mid-February at least, doing the show on a regular basis. But lots of content. Look at the special media feed. Make sure you subscribe to that because that's where all the CES content is going to come. And, of course, we cross-post at tpn.tv and, of course, at geeknewscentral.com. Everyone, thanks for being here tonight. Glad to be back. Hope you're happy that I am back. We'll see you on Thursday, everyone. Take care. Aloha.